Well, we're not going to be talking politics anyway, so in private only. Some people get feisty if you bring them up in the channel.
Yeah, that's
Hello,
also
everyone. My name is Katie, and welcome to the Greenland Quilter channel. I have a guest again. His name is Russ from Quilter Meets World, and I really enjoyed having him last time. So tonight we are going to sew again together. Well, it's afternoon his time, but it's already nighttime my time. You know, it's 7 o'clock p.m. here. So anyway, what I'm going to work on is I'm going to work on one of my PMQ UFOs, which would be hot bomb pop from Carnival. I'm going to continue working on that. And Russ, what do you plan on working on?
I have a cotton cuts gnome that I'm working on. It is this one right here, the boy gnome for July, and I have it in batiks. They are going to be gifts for my cousin. I got all 12 of the months. Some of them are boys, some are girls, some are batik, some are cotton. And the funny thing is, I let her pick, and she has no idea what she picked because I just gave her random letters. And I said, do you want this letter or this letter? And she just randomly went through it, and they're fairly well like 50-50. So it's pretty cool.
That's awesome. I think that as I mentioned earlier, I think the July one's pretty daggum bang up, you know?
The July one is fun. I've only got 3 of them done. I have January, February, and August done. I don't know
Yep.
why I skipped up to August, but I did.
Yeah.
Uh, and then I said, I need to get some of these done. This sounds like it's going to be a fun time to work on them, and we'll see how far I can get because there's a lot of pieces in here.
Yep. Definitely. I agree with you on that one. Um, I think it's pretty interesting that so many have done the um gnome one. I'm not a gnome person, that's why I didn't sign up for it. But I think they're pretty cool though. They really look great. And
I
I'm glad
waited
that so many
until
enjoyed it.
Yeah, I waited until the December gnome came out, and I was like, I'll just get them all at once, save on shipping, until I found out that the price included shipping, so I didn't save anything by buying them all together. They saved a little bit on the shipping cost, which, I guess that's a win for them, but it didn't cost me any less than if I would have bought them month by month.
Yeah.
But it wasn't until like November last year that I decided that she was going to get them. So it was still a December thing anyway.
Yep. Okay, so let's welcome the ones who have come into the chat already. Hello, Linda, Denise, Charlotte, Shelby, Judy, Patty, and did I miss anyone? And Denise. I think I got everybody now. Hello to all of y'all. Before we start sewing, well, I mean, you don't have to stop sewing, but I wanted to show you guys. I mentioned the other day about how someone else had donated a second finished quilt to go with the fundraiser drawing that I'm doing on behalf of my son and grandson. So I thought what I would do is share the screen and let y'all see some up close personal or up close pictures of the quilt, both quilts. I know some of you have seen the one quilt that Christine donated from Georgia in the video that I had made. But since I'm going to show you the other quilt that's being given away also, I'll just go ahead and show both of them to you guys. And then those of you who have sat in here and watched, you'll see it. And then after that, I'll go back to a regular screen and we'll get on with sewing. Is that okay with you, Russ?
Yes.
Okay. So let me share the screen and we'll do this real quick and then we'll get back to business. Okay, which one am I wanting? Oh, there it is. Okay. All right. So do I
I
need
can
to
see your screen.
spotlight?
So,
Can you see the screen?
yep.
Okay, is it big enough or do I need to spotlight it?
It should be spotlit.
Okay, let
When,
me
when
see.
you share a screen, it gets spotlit.
Okay, all right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on it. Okay, this is the one that has been donated by oh my gosh. I'm gonna get rich. Oh, anyway, this was donated. So this is the one that wasn't in the video. This got sent after I had already posted the video. So this is one of the two that will be given away during the drawing. So I think it's really cute. So it's someone's going to love it. And then the rest of it, oops, wrong way. Okay, so I'm just going to go through here and show you
And
parts
say
of this.
all we see is your file explorer. We don't. If you pulled up an image, it did not come up bigger.
Okay, so what do I got to? Oh, I must have to.
You only shared Explorer. You didn't share your desktop.
So if I do this, then share the screen, will that work? Hang on a minute, you guys. Bear with me here.
Sharing screens at work is still the bane of us, and we've been doing this now for 4 years.
Tell me what you see now.
I see a quilt in the image viewer of the diamond.
Okay. Okay, and if I expand the viewer out, do you still see it?
Yep.
Okay. All right. So and yeah, there we go. Okay. So this is the second quilt that was donated. So this will be one of the two given away, but it's beautiful. I mean, someone will enjoy it, I would think, you know. All right, I gotta go back the other way. Okay. So here, this is in pieces, and I'll just show you. This is the one that Christine also donated. She made the quilt and she quilted it herself.
That is gorgeous.
I know anyone who loves blue is going to love this one because it's gorgeous. Well, they're both gorgeous, but this one's really,
yeah.
This one stands out, especially if you're a blue lover, and I love blue, so this one's really pretty. And this is a small short video she did of the quilt, and you can see her quilting in there is really nice.
Yeah.
She's pretty talented with that long arm. But you know what she does? She volunteers to quilt quilts of valor in her area.
Oh, that's awesome.
She gets a phone call every so often that says, can you donate some quilting time on a quilt of valor? And she says, sure. And she does it and sends it back to wherever it came from. And the recipient gets, a beautiful quilted quilt.
Yeah.
We have some more that's come in the channel. Hi, Glenda. Hello, Charlotte. And hi, Robin. Anyone else I missed? Okay. So whenever you want to show parts of what you're doing, let me know and I'll spotlight you.
Okay.
So we're just
I don't think I'm going to get, well, I don't remember how long one of these takes.
Yeah, I don't know because I haven't made one, so I would not know.
I think I grabbed all the pieces for the half square triangles.
I ended up having to rip a seam, partial seam out of this one I'm working on, this block right now, or this clue. I had to rip out part of it because the two intersections did not line up properly like they should have.
And I can tell you right now, I don't have all the half square triangles because I see two of them that I did not grab.
Oh.
But I'm not going to go and hunt those pieces down. I'll just wait till I get to the pieces, and if I'm missing a pair of half square triangles, I'll just make them up.
Well, that makes good sense.
Yeah, doing as much as I can, chain piecing like this helps.
I definitely like
chain piecing. To trying to figure out like if I'm missing one or two, that's where it gets more complex.
Yeah. I like the chain piecing. It seems like you save time by doing it that way.
Yeah.
You might have to skip especially with these PMQs, sometimes you might have to skip like a certain piece of it because you're chain piecing, but in the end, it always comes out better that way. Okay, this one's good enough, so. So what is everybody working on today, or are you just chilling because it's Monday?
And it's a Monday I had off.
Yeah. How often do you get days through the week off?
Only when I schedule a PTO day.
Oh, okay.
So, however many PTO days we get a year, that's how many days of the week I get off, except for, the holidays that we get. I was just surprised that I got approved for PTO that extends from a holiday, because usually, um, even though I've been there 16 years, I have the least seniority in my team.
Which means there's lots of them been there way longer than you then,
Yeah,
huh?
I mean, it's a team of 4, so it's not like it's a huge team.
Yeah.
But uh usually, well, usually we're good enough between each of us that if somebody wants a day off, and like we can't have 2 of us off at the same time, so usually we will easily, rock, paper, scissors it or something. And this is the, this is the first time I asked for 4th of July week off, and I managed to get it, so I'm not arguing. Oh, that's gorgeous.
This quilt is going to be gorgeous.
That looks like almost exact same colors as the red and blue in this one.
It could be. If it's by Hoffman, it might be.
I think that these are Hoffman.
Um, this quilt one and the one called Hope for Tree of Life. I don't know if you've seen the fabric for the one called Hope, but
I don't
it's
remember the
all
names.
yeah, it's all batiks. But I want you to check this out. There's 2 colors of red in this. Nope, there's 3. Sorry. So here's the first one, and look at the design on it.
Oh, that's
And
awesome.
yeah, and this is a batik. And then this is the other red, and it also has stuff on it. Hope. It has words like hope, courage,
Oh,
strength,
it's that
survivor.
one. Yeah.
And then there's this regular red, the marble effect that you get with some of the batiks. So it's 3 different
Yeah.
shades of red. Then you get this pink that has the same words as the red one does. And look at that.
Oh, that is fun.
Yep. And then this one has hearts on it.
Nice.
And then you have this it's a very pale like a pastelly marbled pink. See, now the camera makes it look like it's lilac, but it's actually a very, very pale pink. And these 2 um, cases, I'm just over the moon about the batiks
Yeah.
because they're just gorgeous. It's going to be a really it's going to really be beautiful. And I'm making the pink one for my sister, my youngest sister. She's a uh, breast cancer survivor, but the last 2 years now, I guess this might be the second year, she had finally been taken off the cancer medicine. But then my sister, being who she is, the old saying, I laugh at danger by the little line.
Uh-huh.
Well, she does stuff like that sometimes. Um, and I'll give you a good example. My sister had a horse when we were young. We were early adulthood, and this horse had come from somewhere that the horse had literally been abused. The horse, it was a mare, and she, little things would make her blow up. And Cheryl
Yep.
was working on that with her. And she had told my sister, well, she told both of us, if you're going to go ride my horse, don't leave the paddock with the horse, because she knew the horse could freak out and
Yep.
no telling what'll happen. But my youngest sister being who she is, thinks she's invincible. She took the horse out, went way down the road in the middle of the Osceola National Forest, and a big, huge logging truck came flying by,
Oh no.
freaked the horse out. The horse reared up and fell over backwards on top of Karen.
Oh.
and it broke her hip in 4 places. And she's laying on the side of the road. And back then, that was 37 years ago. So there's no such thing as cell phones.
Right.
Nobody knew she took the horse out because she hadn't said anything. And it just happened. Another logging truck come by and noticed that the horse was standing there and thought it was odd that this horse had saddle on it and no rider. So he stopped and found Karen laying on the ground. So she went through all of that. So to make a short story shorter, a little over a year and a half ago, she went out after she been took off the cancer drugs, and they told her she could be more active if she wanted to. She likes to ride bikes like she rides horses because she also has a horse, but she retired her horse. But she was out cycling, and she decided she wanted to jump some little hill. And when she came on the other side of the hill, she crashed her bike, and her bike handlebar punctured
Oh
her
no.
implant, and it broke 3 ribs.
Ouch.
And when she got to the hospital, they did what they had to take the implant out, and they had to figure out what to do about her ribs. And 3 or 4 days later, they had to take her into surgery because one of the ribs was fractured in such a way that required them to go in and scrape the inside of the bone or something.
Ouch.
And she woke up in the middle of her surgery. Now, because us girls come from the environment we came from, that surgery and her waking up triggered her brain to do what mine does when I have a trigger. And she has been struggling ever since. She's hardly leaving the house. It's a lot of things, but she's in therapy finally now. It's weird, but half my family's in therapy right now. And because as we get older, things, I don't know, they show up the most inopportune time. And because none of us have ever had any psychiatric help for the stuff that we grew up in, a lot of times we don't, I know I don't, a lot of times I don't have a trigger until it happens. And then it's downhill from there. So I decided she's not talking much. She's barely, she'll answer me sometimes on WhatsApp, but she's completely took herself off of social media. So she's not keeping up with her family like she was. And I know at some point we'll probably get on a plane and go see her in Spain, since she's not wanting to really get out too much. But I decided what better way to lighten her spirit is to make her a special quilt that's all about her.
Yeah.
I think that, we grew up like little boys, so pink has not ever been a thing that any of us, subscribe to, but I think she'll love it because of everything it symbolizes. And hopefully it'll lighten her spirits and she'll start talking again.
That'll be good if it does. Yeah,
I talked to her about 2 or 3 weeks ago when our aunt, my mother's sister, passed away, and told her what was going on because Doris wanted me to let her know. And she said that the therapy's coming along, but it's taking time, and it is what it is, which means it does take time for us.
Yeah.
We have so much locked in our brain.
Well, no matter what, if you have to do some therapy, it takes a while just to decompress anything out of therapy.
Yeah. And some things I can't speak for her, but from my point of view, there's blank spots in the timeline in my brain, which means my brain has closed it so I can't see it. And I don't want to see it. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that there's things I don't remember. And she'll bring up a subject and say, do you remember when this happened? I'm like, when did that happen? She says, oh, it was when Larry was being Larry. I'm like, so that means my brain shut off and I forgot all about it. Larry's my dad. And yeah, so I thought maybe it might help lighten her spirit. I know when she had the partial mastectomy, I found out what hospital she was in. I had sent her some live orchids for her to take home. And when she come out of the surgery and the orchids were there, and she had Manolo call so she could talk to me on the phone. She says, I didn't expect this. Why did you do that? I said, because I could. Because I love you.
Right.
And just because we're thousands of miles away doesn't mean that I don't care what happens to you. I said, you're still my sister. Even though our relationship between us three girls is not kosher because of the way we were raised, but
Yeah.
I still love my sisters, and I have more of a relationship with them than I do my brother who's 12 years younger than me. So any amount of family time is better than none. And I hope I didn't make anybody uncomfortable. That was not the plan. But I had to kind of tell the story to explain why she's bad off right now. But yeah. So she's okay. She's hanging in there. But her husband is helping her through this bad time. And Allie, my niece, which is her only daughter, lives in the United States, but she's been going home to check on her mom too. So there's people in place to help her with this. So I'm glad about that. Because when you don't have anyone, it's really hard to deal with problems.
Definitely.
It really is. All right, let me see who else has come in here and see what we've missed. Robin wants to know what you're working on.
I am working on the July cotton cut gnome in batiks.
Susan, hello, Susan. Welcome. She was asking what everybody's working on. So, like Russ said, he's working on gnomes from Cotton Cuts, and I'm working on one of my puzzle mystery UFOs from Cotton Cuts. So that's what I'm working on.
Which puzzle mystery is it?
This is the Carnival Bomb Pop.
Okay.
I'm doing the large. Okay. Hello, Deb S. Welcome. Hi, Kelly. Welcome. I didn't see all that. Hey, Frank from Florida. Frank says, I made a tube turner today for a sis kebab skewer and a small yard light pole. That sounds like fun. Charlotte says, that's very sweet, Katie. Let me see here. Shelby says, unprocessed trauma is so hard and therapy definitely can take time. Yep. Trauma may, someone, you always hear these little people, sometimes people don't realize when they say something how cruel it is, but they'll say, you just need to get over it. It's not as simple as that.
It is not.
It's a scar that will always be on and off. Something will fester it a little bit. You know what I mean by that?
Yep.
And when it's getting festered, then we have to deal with it when it happens, but trauma doesn't go away. Okay, so where I'm at on this, I showed you guys what the this is for 4A. This is what the clue 4A will look like, and I have to make 4 of them, but I haven't got the other side sewn together, so I still have to sew all of these flying geese together for that one side. So I'll be working on that first.
I still need to get my Carnival puzzle mystery quilts finished.
Yeah, I have 2 of them. Susan, that's actually not a quilt behind me. That is a crocheted mandala. I call it Arctic Lights. Hang on, I'll take the camera and put it up closer so you can see it. Someone remind me to plug the power back on it when I put it back.
Do you want to spotlight yourself before you bring the camera over?
Yeah, that's a good idea, actually. Thank you for mentioning that. Okay, spotlight for everyone. Oh, wrong one. I'm spotlighting. Oops. No, it must be this one. Okay. Can everybody see that? Do you see that?
Yep.
Russ? Okay.
Oh, it's like I'm floating.
Yeah, let's try not to make anybody want to puke. Hold on.
That is gorgeous.
So this is crocheted. It took a year.
You made this?
Yes, I did.
Wow.
It's made from number 3 DMC Red Heart and Lily cotton yarn. So it's small yarn. This was part of a crochet along that took a year to do called Mandala Madness. And I learned lots of skills I didn't know how to do before on it. And this is the center. What else can I show you? I can show you these up here. These remind me of the sun.
Yeah.
So what I did was I followed the pattern just like everybody else was, but I did not follow color. So
Yeah.
I had been buying the number 3 thread, and I wanted to make something with it, but I just didn't know what I was going to make at the time when I was buying it up. So I had bought a lot of colors. And then when I had gone to the United States in 2012, I think, or 2013, I came back with some more number 3 by Red. I found some by Red Heart, and I found some by Lily that I knew I didn't have that specific color. The rings that you see with the cooler colors, those rings were probably when we were either having northern lights, or it was cold, or it was both.
Oh.
And then all of the hot colors that you see used were during the summer months, spring, and part of fall. So, because remember, I said this lasted a whole year.
Yeah.
And I did take like a month off during the summer to go outside and plant vegetables. So there was like a month where I didn't even touch it at all. So anyway, that's what it looks like.
And the big question is, did you remember to plug your camera back in?
No, I did not, but let's get it plugged in because it will shut off if I don't. Within about 20 minutes, it'll be dead. There's something about going live that kills the battery. Okay, it's plugged in now. Thank you for reminding me.
You asked us to remind you.
Yes, I did, because I knew I would forget. That's how distractible I am. Let's see here. Hi, Janice. Welcome, welcome. Good to see you, girl. Janice is a lot of fun to sew with.
She definitely is.
Hi, Gladys. How are you? All right, let's see what they said. No, Charlotte says, no wonder it took a year. That's tiny yarn. Yes, I used the number 2 millimeter hook. Very small.
I almost am like, I should send that to my sister, but she would kill me.
Why would she kill you?
Because she would want to do it, and it would take her like 3 years because she has less time.
It was, you know, this was the second crochet along I participated in, since we're talking about it. This is the first one I participated in, and this one's called Sophie's Universe. And this one was done with regular worsted yarn.
Oh, that's gorgeous too.
Yep. And there's all kinds of different things. Like here, I forget what this is called, where you make little shapes with the single crochet, where you can see through it. So these are butterflies. And then you got the little tulips right here. And this one I love the most is this flower.
Oh, that is nice.
And and there was a lot of work done just on top of the piece itself.
But I think it was last year. I was talking with someone who was crocheting, and oh, no, it wasn't that. I had done the quilting on a quilt, and the quilting was dragonflies. And I was talking with somebody, and she said that she has a dragonfly crochet pattern. And I was like, my sister would love that. Can you share it? So she sent it to me. I sent it to my sister, and my sister goes, that is perfect timing. And I'm like, what do you mean? A friend of hers was pregnant, and she was starting to research baby quilts, and she's like, this dragonfly quilt is going to be perfect for it. So wow. It was just all the timing in the universe. And I basically gave her a baby quilt pattern or a baby Afghan pattern that she needed at the time.
That's cool. There's more comments here. Let me see here. Lori says hello, Katie and Russ. Hi, Lori. Welcome, welcome. I'm sorry I missed you earlier. My bad. Okay, Jackie says, Katie, working on my carnival small in Sky Flyer, assembling the top, won't do the quilting until next summer after the move. Yay, Jackie, I'm working on it. Charlotte says, no wonder it took you a year. That's tiny yarn. We already read that one time.
Yeah.
Robin says, Frank, I have a score. Maybe I'll give it a try. Then Frank says, Katie, I've seen it 100 times and it wows me every time. I think it wows a lot of people. Kelly says to Jackie, are you saving up quilt tops for after your move? I must have missed a conversation about that somewhere. Then Kelly says, I am hopeless about crocheting and knitting. My brain does not work that way. You know, the crocheting thing, remember me telling you guys the story of how I started growing plants at 11 years old? Because of my Aunt Lena. Aunt Lena is also the person that gave me a number 5 crochet hook I still have 52 years later, along with a ball of yarn, and she showed me how to do single, double, treble, and a chain stitch. She showed me how to do all of them, and she says you can make anything you want just with those stitches. And she sent, you know, when I left, I went away with plant cuttings, a crochet hook, and a ball of yarn. And so I messed around with that ball of yarn on and off, you know, because I was 11 years old when she did that. And then when I got pregnant with my first daughter, I had this urge to crochet again, and I made and I'll have to dig that out of my foot locker because I actually have that blanket that I crocheted for her when she was born. And I started crocheting again. So I made 2 Afghans, a little small Afghan for her, and then I made an Afghan for my first husband, which now we have because he's gone. So now it's here at the house with me. So I'll get those 2 out and bring them to the next live and show you guys the other 2 or 3 pieces that I've made over the years. And I went through a spell where I crocheted because I was too far pregnant to get out and dig in the dirt. And then I went through a spell where I didn't touch crocheting for like years because I was too busy gardening because that's what I love. And now I'm back over here in Greenland, and that's why I picked it back up, because I realized without horses and gardening outside, I had absolutely zero to do. So the crocheting happened first, and then the quilt part happened next. Let's see. Jackie says, yes, they are easier to pack without the batting. My daughter is leaving the girls' triple bunk beds for sleepovers. Blue is for the middle one. She started 4th grade. Shelby says she hadn't seen this creation before. It's amazing. Thank you. And just thank you guys. I hadn't touched any yarn for, gosh, last time I made anything was when I was pregnant with my youngest daughter, I think. So that's how long I had gone without crocheting.
Wow. And
I, you know, all these fancy stitches and stuff you see, I learned all of that during the crochet along. The mandala there's actually, if you go on YouTube and look up Mandala Madness, that's the name of the crochet along, you will find videos about this particular crochet along. Now, I'm not sure if there's videos for Sophie's Universe, but there might be. So plug it into the search button, and actually, I think I might have a link for the Madness one. Hang on a minute.
I just wrote a note to search for it because I enjoy tormenting my sister anytime I can.
Well, you can torture her with that one. Wait, I'm waiting on the bot to say yes or no. It looks like it's asleep. Oh, man. Really? Unless I called it something else. I might have called it something else. Let me see what I have in the box. Oh, I put Mandala Madness. That's why it's not working. Okay, here's the link for the one on the wall. Now let me see if there's a YouTube channel for Sophie's Universe. Oh, actually, they're just
He says that's what brothers are for.
Oh, there is a YouTube channel for the Sophie's Universe. Y'all are going to be happy campers. All right. Let me put that one in there too. So you'll have both of them. So if you want to go have a look, you'll see what it's all about. About the Sophie's Universe one. After we did the crochet along, about a year later, she published the book called Sophie's Universe, and the book has every step in it.
Oh, nice.
And so I actually have the book, and I'll have to go look for it in the sewing room and show it to you guys. Okay, so the second link is for Sophie's Universe. So if you want to go, both of them are on YouTube. I do know with Sophie's Universe, there is also a blog. So if you put it in Google, you should easily find it. But I'm not sure if the writer of Mandala Madness did a blog or not. I don't remember, because I mostly stayed in the channel and downloaded the weekly assignment, you know, and printed it out that way and did it that way. So I'm not sure she had a blog, but she might. So anyway, there's that. So let me get this sewing. I've been talking too much.
Yeah, when I was in high school, my sister and I, we were taught a handful of crochet stitches. So I was able to chain stitch and single crochet. And then mom taught me the Afghan stitch.
Mm-hmm.
So I was working on that for a few months. And then I ended up going out to college, and I didn't bring anything crochet related to college because obviously it's not cool for a guy to be crocheting in school.
Not back then, anyway.
Especially at a business school.
Wow.
So I lost every little bit of crocheting skill that I had. But my sister recently picked it back up. Probably about 10 or 12 years ago now, maybe longer. And she's done some amazing projects.
Oh, okay. Well, that's cool. I'll post a picture of Sophie's Universe. I do have a picture of Sophie's Universe laid out on the bed, a picture of it. I'll put it on my community tab and in my Facebook group, so you guys can go have a better look if you want. It's hard to hold that one up because it stretches because of the worsted yarn.
Yeah.
And I'm always reluctant about bringing it out because I don't want to mess it up. But I'm definitely happy with it. Have you ever thought about trying to pick it back up again? Or you just
I have
too busy?
But number one, I've got the animals who would prefer to cuddle on the couch and not let me mess with yarn. So that's the primary reason that has done it for me, that said no. So I'm like, it is what it is. Eventually I will think about it again.
Yeah, there's never no hurry. I mean, you can always do like small projects. I also have I like to make pot holders of all things out of that lily cotton yarn. You know what I'm talking about? Some people like to make dishcloths out of it. And I like to make, there's a pattern that you sew on cherries and leaves on the front of it after you've crocheted the whole piece. And it's so cute to do it like that. I should do that as a make one on a video.
Yeah.
So you can see the process of how I do it. It is really warm in our house today. but I don't want to open a bunch of windows and let mosquitoes in.
I do not get bit by mosquitoes here in Georgia. But the moment I go back to Massachusetts, they are feeding on me like crazy.
Yeah.
And I joke that it's because feeding season in Massachusetts is so much shorter, so they'll eat anything.
Yeah, it's like
Whereas
6
down
weeks of
here,
torment.
that they can pick and choose what they want to eat, and I don't taste good.
Yep. Yep. The females are the ones that bite us here. And I noticed I had a bite on me yesterday, or I got up this morning itching. And when I looked, I'm like, oh, I've been bitten by a mosquito. Well, of course I have.
I was hanging out at my chiropractor's house one day several years ago, and her neighbor was there, and her neighbor's like, what bug spray do you use? Because you're not getting bit. And I was like, I don't use bug spray. And she didn't think that it was possible. And my chiropractor goes, I've known Russ for this many years. I've never seen a bug bite on him.
Did you know mosquitoes don't like Irish Spring soap?
Really?
Nope. Nor does flies.
I wonder what it is about the soap.
I don't know, but they don't like the smell of it. I rubbed the outer edges of our bedroom window with it, and the flies won't come within a mile of it.
Interesting.
And I'm like, it's too bad I couldn't just hang that around Coda's neck. And then maybe they'd leave his ears alone, you know. Can you hear Nora whining?
I do not hear any background noise from your end.
Oh, she hasn't got loud enough yet then. I'm gonna have to let her in here soon because she will get louder. Yeah, how's the hexes going? How many have you made now? And
How many
Denise,
what?
I think it's Robin that's working on hexies. One of them are working on hexies, and she's got to make like 15,000 of them.
I don't do hexies.
Like, so it's gonna be taking a while.
Hexies feel too much like hand sewing. I'm not touching those things.
I don't know how to hand sew, or I would love to learn to hand sew. I want someone to next time I come to the US, I'm gonna pin somebody down to show me how to hand sew. That's the one thing my mother didn't take time to teach me. I learned how to use her sewing machine because I took a home ec class, and then she just walked me through threading the machine. But it when it came to hemming or fastening down facing on my clothes that I was making, she did it. I would, Mom, will you hem this up, instead of saying, Mom, will you teach me how to do this?
Right.
I should have had her teach me how to do it. And I need to bug my husband for a minute.
The couple stitches that I can do hand sewing, I have basically faked. I watch like 2 or 3 videos, and I'm like, okay, these are close enough. So the stitching that I use for hand binding, I don't know if it's a right stitch. I don't know if it's good technique, bad technique, but it's my technique. And I'm just terrified of the day that I show somebody and they just look at me like I'm crazy, and like, what are you doing? You're doing something wrong. And I'm like, well, nobody learned me. And none of my quilts have fallen apart.
I'm not good at hiding knots. I don't know how that concept of how you hide them, I don't really understand that good.
Again, I fake the way I do it. I basically start my stuff in the middle. I don't know how I end up hiding my last knot. It works, but I don't know how I get it to work.
That's interesting. Someone just said that if you cut up Irish Spring bars and put them in mole holes, they will move away. I didn't know that.
Don't be torturing the moles.
Jackie's asking both of us, do you like foundation paper piecing? I do. What
I
little
do
of it I
too.
do.
I actually have Okay. The full story, because I know he's not going to watch this video most likely. A friend of mine passed away a couple months ago, and his husband asked me if I would make a t-shirt quilt for him.
Okay.
And I'm like, t-shirt quilt, do I really have to? But I'm not going to say no to you. So yes. So he sent me a bunch of t-shirts, and I know one of their favorite musicals to go watch together was Rent. So I've got the fabric to make a little Rent block that I'm going to put in the middle of the t-shirt quilt that he doesn't know is going to happen.
Wow.
So I'm like, if I can make the feels happen, I'm going to make the feels happen. And like my friend used to work for the Warner Brothers studio store.
Mm-hmm.
So he's got a handful of WB t-shirts that he wants incorporated in there too. And I'm like, okay, I'll do that. So I gotta figure out how to make a t-shirt quilt.
That's funny. Of all the things to make, a t-shirt one, those can't possibly be that easy to make.
I mean, they're easy, but they're also hard at the same time because you're just working with big blocks.
Yeah.
And that's what makes it. Big pieces are harder to work with than little pieces for a lot of people.
Yep.
Which is why when you're getting to the end of a quilt, it feels like more of a challenge because it's big pieces.
Shelby says if you can crochet, you're able to hand sew. That's not the same thing, Shelby. Hate to tell you this, but that is not the same thing.
It's different dexterity.
Yes, it is. And if you don't hide those knots right, they can easily come out.
Mom made me a set of curtains that are in my kitchen.
Mm-hmm.
Crocheted them. And the whole story is I found the pattern and I sent her the pattern. I said, can you make me a set of curtains from this pattern? And if so, obviously, how much? Because I'm not going to ask mom for free stuff. She was on a limited income and everything. So I'm like, just tell me how much you want. So she sends back a few weeks later. She sends me back her sample block. She's like, yep, I can make it. And I was like, okay, how much? And she's like, nothing. I was like, I'm still going to send you something. So she sent me the first iteration of it. And it was basically the size of my queen size bed.
Oh,
Or
wow.
a small window in the kitchen. And I was like, you made too many things. She's like, but I measured it. I was like, you need to return that tape measure. So she cut out a bunch of blocks and sent it back to me again. And this time it was it was too small. And I was like, okay, I got to send it back again. Third time she sent it back, it's still like one column too small, but it was too much work just to keep going back and forth.
Yeah.
So it's in my kitchen. That's part of what had to stay in my kitchen after the remodel 4 years ago, as
Oh,
much
wow.
as there were objections to it. And I was like, nope, that's got to stay.
That's something that me and my husband don't talk about. How we want this house to, the decoration of this house. We don't even, and it might be because I don't know, I'm just not an interior person. Shelby says, Katie, when you have your next member Zoom, I'm happy to share what I know. Okay. Yeah, speaking of member member Zoom, I need to set one up this month. I haven't done that yet because I'm so unmotivated for one reason. but I need to set one up. Do you guys, since some members are in here, Shelby's one of them, do you prefer Sunday or Saturday? I've been doing them on a Sunday, but it seems like there's a ton of people doing lives on Sundays. Of course, Saturday's not much better off when it
I've
comes to
learned that
everybody
it
doing
just
live.
doesn't matter. You're going to mess with other people.
Yeah. Like you can't escape it. And I noticed there was a big name channel that has been on a lot lately on days they're not normally on. I didn't know how to sew until I tried either. Go for it, Katie. I guess my mother spoiled me by doing that hand sewing for me. I think she liked hand sewing.
Mom crocheted like a mad woman. Before I was quilting, if I had a friend that was having a baby, I would call mom up and say, hey, will you make a baby blanket for so-and-so? And before I had a chance to, send her a card with a check, she'd have the baby quilt in the mail to me. And I'm like, but I only gave you like a day and a half and you've already got it done?
It's weird that my mother did. I mean, she made our clothes. She made us girls dresses when we were little, and that's how I learned to use her Singer sewing machine later in life when I was a teenager. But she didn't crochet or knit or anything. I think she had the love of being outside gardening as much as I had the bug. Only she grew vegetables, and I grew ornamentals. So it would never be unheard of to see flower, besides a big garden in the backyard, she'd have these big black pots in the front yard. And around September or October, she would plant mustard green seeds in all those big pots. And she would always time it so that by the time they got to be about this big, then the first frost would come. And she didn't cover them up. She wanted the frost to kiss the greens, because when the frost kisses it, it makes them taste different.
Oh.
A lot of people complain that mustard greens are bitter. I think turnips are bitter compared to mustard greens. But when frost kisses them, you don't taste any of that bitter taste that so many people talk about. I loved going to when we were really young, grammar school age. And she had a humongous garden out behind the house where we lived at, because we lived in this place called Chuliota. So there was like 3,000 acres of orange trees all the way around us. And then there was this big open area that my mom planted a big, huge garden in. And when it was time to start harvesting the vegetables, we would go out and help her pick the okra and pick beans and peas and stuff. And then she would have us help clean them. She always knew when there wasn't so much okra who was eating it. I would sit there and I just couldn't help it. I would go sneak a little bottle of salt out of the kitchen and go sit in the front porch and eat okra raw. And she'd come out there, you are not helping because you're eating all of it. Do the same thing with peas, eat peas raw because they were tasty.
Yeah.
The only thing I didn't eat raw really was corn, because I find eating corn raw a little difficult.
Growing up, Mom would boil the heck out of all the vegetables, and they were just, gross and slimy and stuff.
No.
So I hated them. growing up.
I can imagine.
And then there was one day somebody brought a vegetable tray. So all the vegetables were raw and everything. And they were like, you should try one. I was like, but I don't like broccoli. They're like, just try it. So I tried one. I was like, okay, this is good. What you cook is nasty. If you want me to eat my vegetables, I want to eat them raw like this.
There's an art to steaming broccoli, and if you overdo it, it becomes what you're talking about, mush.
Yeah.
I steam our broccoli all the time, and there's a joke between me and Nikolai. Nikolai's like, he'll tell people, I've eaten more broccoli in the 13 years I've been married to my wife than I have my whole life.
And you know, Brussels sprouts have been genetically altered in our lifetime. When
No,
we
I
were
did not
growing
know
up,
that.
they were very, very bitter. And sometime in the early 2000s, something changed to get rid of the bitterness.
Hmm.
So people who hated broccoli as a kid, not broccoli, Brussels sprouts as a kid, it's not because your taste buds have changed. It is because the actual plant has changed just a little bit over the past handful of years to make them not as bitter when they get cooked.
Do you know I've never eaten Brussels sprouts?
I would say you're lucky because I really like, I'll eat them now as an adult, but I will eat many other things before I will eat Brussels sprouts.
I've heard a lot of people talk about how nasty they are, and because I hear that I'm less apt to try it.
They're like roasted Brussels sprouts are good, but any other preparation I don't like. So the people who will boil their Brussels sprouts, I still don't like it.
And you probably don't like boiled cabbage either, do you?
Nope. I
See,
am very much on the thing that I prefer my fruits and vegetables raw.
yeah, I like to saute cabbage where it's like el dente, kind of like
Uh-huh.
where it still has that crunch in it.
Yeah. We made fried cabbage growing up and stuff, but I'm like not a fan.
Yeah,
And
if it's overcooked, it's gross.
well, it's also if you get to the point where you think about it, like I don't like apple pie, I don't like blueberry cobbler, I don't like
Oh, you don't
basically I
like
don't
the
like cooked fruits, I
texture.
don't like cooked vegetables. So if I can eat my food raw, I'll eat them.
It's more nutritious when you eat it raw.
Yeah.
Mm,
Except I will eat grilled pineapple. Grilled pineapple is delicious.
I have never had grilled pineapple. I'll have to try it. I don't like it. I don't like pineapple on pizza. It's strange.
I I will eat pineapple any way that you give it to me.
Okay, there's been some more comments here. The frost kills the bitterness, Frank says. Jackie says, Katie, Sean has a Google link to a schedule he made of all the lives. The link is on his community tab. It was a couple months ago. Yep, I've seen it. I need to go have a look at it again so I can figure out when to. I guess what I could do is make it an all day Zoom, like start it at 1 o'clock in the afternoon my time and let it grow till like 10 o'clock my time and see who drops in. That might work. And then they can pick whatever time they want to show up.
I feel that's what I've seen some of the other content creators do.
Yeah. Shelby says, Katie, I love raw peas and green beans. I used to eat them right out of the garden too. Oh, and let's go out to the garden and pick Mama's tomatoes and get screamed at because we would sit there and eat those like they were candy. He's like, dude, stop eating my tomatoes. I want to can some of them. I'm like, they're so good though. The only thing vegetable wise that I didn't eat, and you'll never convince me otherwise to eat them, is squash, zucchini, hominy, beets, and rutabagas. My mother was crazy for rutabagas. She would eat them at least 2 or 3 times a month. And I just can't stand squash because it's slimy and
That's one of the hard part about our cafeteria. They have the healthier stations, but when they prepare a lot of their foods, it ends up sitting and getting slimy and stuff like that. And I'm
yeah.
like, I don't like this.
And people who are sensitive to that soft, slimy effect
Uh-huh.
will not eat them without gagging on them. And I think that's why I don't like squash, is because it's that texture that you're talking about. But I can't eat banana pudding or vanilla pudding either because of that texture.
I
It's
love
very,
me some banana pudding.
yeah.
And
And cooked bananas, no.
I heard a rumor that I am hoping is true. I heard a rumor that Chick-fil-A is going to be bringing back the banana pudding milkshake this summer.
Oh, I didn't know they made milkshakes. Wow, I'm gonna have to check that out. Now Nikolai likes bananas any way he can get them. Me, not so much. It's got to be firm and straight from the peeling. No modification of it at all, you know. It's weird the things we don't like and do like. And he likes to make a big deal out of eating matok, which is whale blubber. The great matok is the Greenlandic word for it.
Okay.
He'll come in there and he'll say, "Hey, let me get a kiss from you," after he just got done eating that. I'm like, go away. Did you set the timer for the chicken, honey?
Nope. Nope.
No? Oh my gosh. Did you turn the oven down to 2?
You didn't tell me to turn the oven down to 2.
I should Asa, did you set the temperature down too?
Nope.
Oh my God. Be right back.
Melissa says it's a true rumor. I'm excited about that. Although I'm a little disappointed because I no longer work upstairs from a Chick-fil-A, which I guess is better for my waistline.
No, 30 minutes. He misunderstood the second question, I think, because when I went and looked, it was at the temperature it should be at. I like to preheat the oven at that high temperature, and then I turn it down, and then I stick the chicken in there.
Oh.
And it gives that chicken skin a little bit of crunch without overcooking the bird itself.
Yeah, that sounds like an interesting idea.
Yeah, and then I just set the timer for 45 minutes, check the chicken, and decide if I'm going to put anything, like barbecue sauce or something on it, or leave it alone and let it cook like for 15 more minutes, and then I take it out. And it's all ready to go.
It's almost like searing it first.
Yep. It's something about doing it at that high heat, and then when you check it, you're like, wow, the skin is perfect.
Yeah.
Because I like crunchy skin, not that soft stuff. You know what I mean? Okay, what did I miss?
Melissa said it was a true rumor, what I found. She also apparently likes grilled peaches, and peaches are gross and vile, in my opinion.
Now, see, I like peaches raw and fresh.
I don't like peaches in any way, shape, form, or fashion.
But if you cook them in a pie or something, forget it. Or make it into a cobbler. I don't like cobbler all that much either. Robin says okra is super slimy. It depends on how you handle the okra.
Yeah.
If you mishandle it, yeah, or you overcook it, yes. But if you know what you're doing, it's not going to be slimy. My mom cooked okra 2 ways. One was the fried way, which I adore. And the other way is she used to, when she would make a pot of whiteacre peas or black-eyed peas, fresh
Uh-huh.
ones, she would get them about 70% through the cook process because she always cooked them with ham hocks. And then she would take okra and clean them. And then she would just take that cap off that was attached to the stem without cutting into the okra itself.
Yeah.
And then she would gently lay them lengthways across the top of the pot on top of the peas.
Huh.
And she would salt them just a little bit and put the lid on and cook them for 10 minutes. And then she'd take them out. And they were always good like that. And they didn't have that slimy effect that everybody's talking about. Melissa says, I remember you saying how much you loathe peaches. She must be talking about you.
Yeah.
Melissa says, I like okra in the air fryer. Ooh, that might be fun to try.
I grabbed Bojangles to go last week, and the person who was behind the counter didn't know me. And he tried to upsell a peach pie to me, and I just turned around like, that's just even disgusting to think about talking about. And he just like, okay, I've never seen anybody react like that. I was like, yeah, peaches are vile.
Yep, you don't like peaches, so go away.
I accept that some people love them, and they can have all of my peaches.
Do you know what I had for the first time while I was in the United States? Actually, two things. I have never had brisket. I don't really know why my mother never made brisket because she always she made pot roast and things like that, you know, that could feed a big family because we were a family of six. And she, you know, she would do that a lot. But I don't know. Maybe brisket back then was more expensive than it is now. I don't know.
It's also a lot of work because the only good way to make brisket is to grill it or smoke it.
Yeah, slow cook
So,
it. Yep. And I had some from Bucky's.
oh yeah,
Oh my gosh,
Bucky's has some good.
they were so good. And I'm like, golly, I wonder why my mom never made it. It could be, like you said, the long hours it takes to make it.
Yeah, if you don't have a smoker and you don't have basically all day, you're not going to make it. Like my
Yeah.
family, family, my parents eventually bought a smoker,
Hmm.
and they used it like 3 times just because of how much work it was just to do it. Like they bought it specifically because mom wanted a smoked turkey one year for Thanksgiving. And dad was like, really? Okay. It was the driest turkey I had ever had.
I would never smoke a turkey. You have enough trouble trying to maintain the moistness of it.
Yeah.
But I'm not much of I when I became an adult and started raising my own family, for Thanksgiving I would make a ham, but I'd also make a hen from a chicken hen. Because you can buy a 7-pound chicken hen or
Yeah.
8-pound one, and it'd be better tasting than a 10-pound turkey is.
Yeah.
I'm just not all that. I'll eat turkey, but it's not ranking it the number one thing to eat. Put it that way.
That's how I am. I'm like, I'll grab a piece of it at Thanksgiving, but I am not gonna eat many pieces of it.
What I
But
do like
the
though is
friends that
duck.
I spend Thanksgiving with here, they fry the turkey, and it comes out really good because they have a recipe of a larger restaurant chain
Huh?
because they know somebody who used to work there. And I'm not going to get anybody in trouble by mentioning the chain, but they also have fried turkeys.
Hmm.
And basically every year it's essentially that restaurant chain's fried turkey that we are getting.
So who's the chain? Or are you not allowed to say?
I'm not going to tell you that it's Copeland's.
Oh, well, I've never eaten at Copeland, so I have no idea what that even is.
I didn't even know that they had a fried turkey until they said that it was that so and so used to work at Copeland's and he's got the recipe.
Wow.
Because
That's
that's
really
one of those, it's basically, it's not necessarily a secret recipe that it's all prepackaged. Because you know, a lot of restaurants like KFC and that, their uh, flour mixture is prepackaged. So
yeah.
there's no way to know what the proportions are at the restaurant, but um anybody who works obviously in the, I don't want to call it corporate, it's basically where the mixtures are put together, they know what the
Hmm.
combinations are because they got to put them together.
That's interesting.
But yeah, it's a really good recipe.
One of the things I tried out in when I was in Raleigh, um, we ate with some of us ate with Becca at seasons seasons 50 or something like that, something 50. It was a restaurant, and
Uh-huh.
the restaurant was probably as pricey as um, Olive Garden or somewhere like that,
Yep.
or
Like
the
I think it's
prices.
seasons 52 or something like that.
Yeah, that's it. I couldn't think of it because I'd never eaten one. And when I was looking at the menu, I see lamb on the menu. And when it was lamb tenderloin, marinated and then grilled was what it described. And it came with sides that sounded tasty.
Yep.
And I was looking at that and I was looking at a steak. And the prices between the lamb and the steak were about $10 difference, meaning the steak cost more than the lamb did.
Oh wow.
But the lamb was $32 by itself. And I'm sitting there looking at this and trying to decide, do I want to try it? Do I want to waste $30 to discover it tastes like crap? But Nicholas always has this saying, like, you don't know until you try something.
Yeah.
You got to at least try it. And if it's a bomb, then it's a bomb. And I'm like, okay, and I've gone by that. I've tried things even, because of the way he looks at things. So I decided to order the lamb, and there was a friend on one side and another friend on the other side, and both the women were like, "Oh, I can't stand lamb. Yuck, 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 yuck." I'm like, "How do you know that this is going to be bad lamb until you
Right.
try it?" Because a lot of reasons we don't like certain kinds of meat is because someone didn't cook it in a manner that made it tasty.
Yep.
So it does matter. And I have a sensitive food palate, so if you mess up meat and make it taste bad, I might not go back to it unless someone makes it taste good. And but I decided to try the lamb. And when I took that first bite, I was in freaking heaven, you guys. Oh my God. It was just as tasty as if I had made it. And I'm like, you guys, you've got to take a small bite. I promise you, there's nothing gamey about this meat. Because they were talking about it being gamey.
Yeah.
The only time I've seen lamb taste gamey is either you bought an adult sheep,
Right.
which is very strong tasting, or the fat, for whatever reason, has that weird taste, that game taste everybody's talking about. And
Yep.
I tend to cut fat off of mine when we debone a lamb shank or whatever. We take all of the fat and skin off of it because we take the bone out, and then we butterfly fillet it open, and then I do things to the inside before we roll it back up and tie the meat. So I gave each person a little taste, and they're like, "You're right, it does not taste the way I thought it was going to taste." I said, "See, sometimes." And I told them, I said, I would never lie about something. I would never say it tastes good if it didn't taste good, because that's how picky my palate is.
Yeah. Now, venison, I'm not a fan of.
It depends on how the venison was handled. If,
I'm sure that's probably a lot of it,
if
but
the deer
I've
was
I've
ran
tried
to
it.
death, it's going to be bad.
I've tried it multiple times, and every time that I've tried it, I'm like, not my favorite. It is, that's a case where it's too gamey for me usually.
Shelby says the lamb didn't have the musty taste. It always tastes like mold to me. Yeah, this lamb did not have that taste you're talking about. With venison, you're from Georgia, so maybe they have dog runners there like we do in Florida. My dad couldn't stand hunters that use dogs to run deer to death because it makes the meat taste bad.
It was South Carolina that I've eaten venison.
Interesting.
But
you might like reindeer.
I don't know what it. I just, like I said, I've had it, and I'm always open to try every time, because I'm like, as you said, there might be somebody who just cooks it right.
Yep.
So I will try it anytime. I'm not going to pay, $30 to try it, but I will sit there. The last time I tried it, it was in a chili. I went to go visit Dad, and we lived next door to a bar, and they had venison chili, and I'm like, okay, I'll try it. And it was still too gamey for me. But I was like, I'm still gonna try it.
It could be any number of reasons. It could be the way they handle the meat. It could have been the hunt itself messed up the meat. Maybe the hunter didn't bother to bleed the deer after killing it. I mean, there's a big amount of
I know there's dozens of things.
Yep. There's all kinds of reasons of why it could have went wrong. It's kind of like when I made it before we got married. Actually, we got married while I was here, come to think of it. But Jackie's leaving. See you later. She forgot to eat her lunch. Oops. So I came for a visit because we wanted to see, and I came in the middle of December and left in the middle of January. And basically we scheduled that time frame to see if my asthma would be just as bad here in the winter month as it was in North Florida. And we got invited over to his aunt's house for Christmas. And it was like, here, and there was a lot of people there that day. I don't know, how many people do you think was there, honey?
Around 10, 15.
Yeah, 10 to 15 people. So everybody's come out, here, try this. Here, try this. Here, try this. Here, try this. Then she comes and sticks salmon in my face.
Oh, no.
And she damaged the meat. That's what she done. So when it went into my mouth, I told Nikolai, I'm going to throw up. And he's like, uh-oh. And he knew I'd done past that threshold because he could see it on my face.
Yep.
And he says, y'all stop. You're overwhelming her. And so for what, a year and a half, honey? About that long?
Yep.
I didn't care to try any more salmon after that because it had ruined it. Because it tasted like it smells. And when it does that,
yeah. The moment that a fish has a fishy smell, it's gone. It's bad.
Yep.
And so, I used to live in Boston, so I know fresh seafood.
Then you understand
it's hard for me to eat just about anything here in Georgia because I'm like, it's not fresh.
Exactly. So I had made friends with a couple at the time. He was still married to her. But he had a boat, and they had invited me to go out with them during the summertime. And so the first summer I went out with them, they every summer they do the usual thing. They do fishing and hunting and gathering of eggs, all kinds of different little things that they do to supply their food table. When I went out with them the second summer, and Nikolai was with me on one of those go-arounds, and we were over where we were going to go salmon fishing, and Torben says, you take home cod when we catch cod, but you never ask for salmon. Why not? I don't like salmon. And he looked at me and he's like, wait, what? And I explained to him what had happened. And he says, oh, we're going to have to fix this problem. So he says, I tell you what, we'll make a deal. You will try salmon one more time, and you're going to let me cook it my way. And I promise you, I will not force you, but I want you to take at least one bite. So we got invited over to their house, and he poached the salmon.
Yep.
He made curry, fresh curry to go with it, and there was rice, and I don't know what else was there, but and he just put a small piece of salmon on my plate, and then he dribbled curry over it. He says, "Try it." Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oof. It was so freaking good. And I realized that a lot of times why I don't eat things is because people don't cook it the way it needs to be cooked for my palate.
Don't you could tell about him about the whale meat.
And the whale meat, he made me whale steaks, and they were really good. But Nikolai likes to make soup out of whale, and I can't stand that.
I can make whale steaks too if you want.
Yeah, we can make whale steaks, but I'm not going to eat whale soup. No, thank you. I don't like beef stew, so there's no way I'm going to like that.
Chicken.
Oh, it smells up the whole house.
So it's part of the process of making food.
It's funny when you go to the hospital to pick up your medicine and you know they made seal meat because the whole entire hospital smells like it.
Oh.
And it's making seal soup is what they made out of it. But it stinks up the whole place.
What about the duck?
Duck, I have grown to love. I love duck, and I know how to cook it.
I've been wanting to try duck.
So basically what you have to do with duck is you cook it in open heat, number one. Number two, you have to make sure you pat dry all of the skin, and then you score the skin just enough to go through the fat layer, but not into the meat itself.
Uh-huh.
And then you season it really good, and we'll cook it on low, 325 or something like that?
Yeah.
A low heat for like two, well, it depends on the weight of the bird. And the skin always comes out crunchy. And the fat that's up underneath the skin layer, that renders out into the bottom of the pan because you put it on a raised rack in the roasting pan. Yep. So it's not sitting in its fat. And then by the time you take it out, a lot of people will take the rendering of the fat and turn it into a brown sauce. But I don't really like to take the juice and do that with it. I'll just make a different, I make brown sauce a little different. But it always comes out nice and moist and yummy. And it's weird because when you buy the duck, it looks really big, but when you finish cooking it, there's only enough for the two of us usually. So now, Shelby says, I like venison. It doesn't taste like mold to me like goat or sheep or lamb usually does. I think you just got a hold of some lamb because lamb should not taste like that. Lamb is a baby. Nice and tender meat.
Muskox.
Melissa says dogs are not typically used in deer hunting. Where do you live? Oh, she's in Georgia. So y'all don't use dogs in Georgia? Must be a Florida thing then.
I don't hunt, so I don't know.
My dad was a still hunter, and he would get pissy when he'd come home early sometimes, and just because somebody run their dogs right through the middle of where he was hunting. A really great story about me going deer hunting with my dad. It's one of the few times he did anything with me. But he had deer stands built in the middle of a pine tree stand. Does everybody know what a pine tree stand is? It's like a whole bunch of land with just pine trees on it. And he had a big tree stand way up in the air. And he was going to let me, if we saw a deer, he was going to let me take a shot at it. But the way the trees are all lined up in the rows and all you could see was the middle of this deer. You couldn't see its head or its tail. And he decided he was going to take it down. So he took it down, and we're climbing out of the tree house or the tree stand. And he's telling me about how to approach a deer that you've just shot. Always have your gun loaded and ready. And he was in the process of loading the rifle again as we were walking toward where he thought the deer was at. And as we're talking, suddenly we hear this racket, and when we look up, there's a buck standing in front of us, looking at us, just standing there. And my dad's putting a bullet in the rifle, and he wasn't paying attention to what he put in the rifle. And when he picked up the gun to do the deer jumped right as you pulled the trigger, and he's like, I might not have got him. But he gave me the other rifle, and he told me, he says, if that one moves, shoot it in the head. Gotcha. But it would, the deer was gone, of course. Well, he found the other one 300 yards away, and when he was loading the rifle, he had pulled a bullet. He had different sections for his bullets, and he pulled out a hollow point. Normally, he only used hollow points for target practice.
Right.
Well, he put a hollow point in that rifle, so I guess you know what happened to where the bullet entered the deer at. And he's like, boy, I messed up a good piece of meat on one side of the deer.
Yeah.
But I remember running home. I could hardly breathe because I'm an asthmatic, and he told me to run home and tell Mom to get the truck and come down there. And so by the time I get up there, I can hardly talk. And I got a piece of paper and I wrote, Dad needs you to bring the truck. And he told me not to tell her why. She says, I heard the rifle go off twice. What's going on? I don't know, Mom. That's what I would say. I don't know. Because he told me not to tell her.
Right.
Because he wanted it to be a surprise. We got down there and she says, I knew I heard 2 bullets go off. But it was a little 4-point buck that was standing there looking at us. The deer here are not too afraid of human beings.
We have deer that, well, now that the coyotes have mysteriously vanished, the deer are back in the area. And a couple years ago, there was a buck in my backyard, which surprised me because my backyard doesn't go up to any woods or anything. There's roads on the other side. So I was like, okay, I need to get the buck out of my backyard. So I went to go to try to open up the fence. I'm like, well, I don't want to open up this fence because it's right here. And the buck might charge at me. So let me see if I could open up the other fence and get away. And as soon as he saw me, he turned around and he bolted out the back and bounded over the fence. I was like, oh, that's how you got in the yard. Okay.
Yep, he jumped in your yard. They can jump tall fences.
Yeah. I don't think I realized that. And a week or two ago, my next door neighbor texts me and says, you should check your camera at this time. And I pulled it up and there was deer in my yard.
Oh, something in your yard they must like to eat.
And well, I was out talking with a neighbor like the next day and cut back through the yard. I'm like, oh, look, there's deer poop in my yard.
When I went to Catskills, New York, we stayed at this cabin on Amber Lake up there. And on the way there was deer everywhere. You see Florida deer every now and then come out, mostly at night maybe. But these deer, it was broad daylight and they're just standing on the side of the road looking at you. Baby, did you want to say hi to everybody? Let's see, put your clothes on. You planning on getting on the table?
No.
No? Well, you can come say hey if you want.
No.
You don't want to?
I know. I said. You only got about 4 minutes left. Right there. Ding, 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 ding.
Has it already been cooking that long?
Yep. This is 30 minutes. Starts. Yeah. Nice.
Oh, 3 more minutes, almost 3. Well, a little over 3 minutes. Okay. All right, I finished 3 more of these. So now I have all 4 of them done.
Oh, that's awesome.
But there's still more to do with this one. But these are 4 A's, and I was supposed to make 4 of them. So now we have 4 of those done.
I've got all the rows of the gnomes sewed. Now I'm just working on sewing the rows together.
That sounds good. All right. Let me see what's been said in the channel. I'm going to go back a bit because there's been some discussion here. Wow, I missed a lot of conversation. Holy crap. Okay. All right. Robin says, I love peaches, just can't touch them. Shelby says, black-eyed peas, yum.
Oh.
Jackie says, I will take nectarines over peaches any day. Yeah, you know, I think I like nectarines more than I do peaches too. She doesn't like the fuzzy skin, but I like to peel the skin off of fruit. Shelby says, I also like lots of different kinds of fruits, raw or cooked. Melissa says, brisket takes a long time to make it perfect.
Yep.
Deb S says, I love peaches, but they have to be peeled. I don't like the fuzzy skin. I don't think anybody likes the fuzzy skin. Melissa says, my son did a ham on his smoker and it was amazing. Yeah, we've done a Boston butt on our grill and I used little wood chips to smoke it with and it came out good, didn't it, honey?
Yep.
Jackie says, Katie, depending on where you live, brisket cuts were scarce and expensive. That's interesting. Melissa says the fuzzy skin hurts, laugh out loud. Frank says, if I can't cover the turkey with gravy, I'll take the ham every time.
Nice.
Yep. I don't blame you there because I prefer the ham over turkey any day, especially smoked hams covered in pineapple rings. Yum.
See, cooked pineapple right there.
Yeah, that's the only time I ever have. And the interesting thing is I don't eat the pineapple after it's been cooked like that. I let the kids devour it. I've always let them have it. Shelby says our lamb didn't have the musty taste. It almost always tastes like mold to me. That's interesting. Maybe you just don't like lamb. Frank says rain. Yeah. Judy says I get my venison and ground beef mixed, then treat it like hamburger meat. You know what my dad used to do, Judy? He used to, whenever he would kill a buck, we always had pigs. And so he would take one of the pigs, because by the time you start killing deer in the winter, your pigs are usually ready for butchering anyway. So he would take one of the pigs up to the slaughterhouse, and he would take his already processed buck, you know, as one whole piece up there with it. And then he would tell the meat to people that I want you to grind this much of the deer up with this much of the pig and make sausage with it. And they would, so when he brought home all the butchered meat, there would be packs and packs of sausage that had been made from the pig and deer mixed together and seasoned for smoked sausage. And it was always so yummy. Let's see. Jackie says, catch up with y'all later. Forgot my lunch. Melissa says, dogs are not typically used in deer hunting. Charlotte says, laugh out loud. Venison cooked right is great. Yes, it is. She said she made Swiss steak using venison and a friend who hated venison loved it. Frank says, a lot of the time it's where it is raised, Russ. You want field deer, not mountain deer. What they eat makes a difference.
Yeah, that much I do know as well.
Shelby says, I like venison. It doesn't taste like mold to me like goat, sheep, or lamb. Or bear. Sorry, I read that wrong. Shelby says, same for me about fish and seafood. I'm totally spoiled living on the West Coast near a seaport. Yeah. When you get fresh fish and then suddenly you boot. Because here's what happened to us. My dad and us, we lived in this little town called Christmas, Florida, which was, you got Cape Canaveral, St. John's River, and then Christmas, Florida, Bithlo, and then Orlando. And so we were within like 5 miles from the St. John's River. So he would always take us fishing. So whenever they would go fishing, they processed all of it on that same day. And my mother would freeze it in bags of water. She'd fill the bag up with water, drop the fish in there and stick it in the freezer, and it would freeze as ice. And so every time she would thaw a fish, it would be like you had gone out that day and caught it. So I grew up with not tasting that fishy thing that you could smell with your nose.
Yeah.
Bear is tough meat to cook. I don't know anything about. I know they eat bear here, but I have not tried bear. I don't think I want to either.
It take about 4, 5, 6 hours to cook it.
It takes that long to cook bear meat?
Yep. Even the walrus too.
Walrus too? Wow. He says it takes 5 to 6 hours to cook bear meat or walrus.
Wow.
They don't really hunt walrus anymore, do they?
They do.
They still hunt it?
Yep.
I know there's a lot of them up there.
We saw one in June with
Yeah, it was in June when you saw that walrus on the ice. He usually doesn't see walrus. It's usually polar bears. They're not going to be able to see that on this
I
camera.
don't know. I just wanted to check when was it that I saw it.
Robin says no rain yet, Frank. And then Frank says it's coming down here on its way. Melissa says dogs are used for bird hunting, wild pig, and a few others, but not deer. Yeah, down in Florida, they use dogs for hunting deer and pigs, but they're different dogs. Some people use pit bulls for pig hunting. Robin says, Frank, my dog is vibrating. It's going to rain. She's arrested. Aw.
April the 28th is the one that
It was in April?
Oh. April the 28th that we saw the walrus.
Oh, so that
then
was
May the 8th that we saw the polar bear.
Someone posted a picture the other day on Facebook that come through my timeline, you guys, and it was a mama polar bear with her baby cub, and I mean a really young cub, walking right by a house in Nanaudic.
Oh.
And I'm like, oh my gosh. And she said she'd come walking out out her front door to go to work, and the bear was standing there with her cub. And all she could think of was, oh my God, I got to get back in the house, but I locked the house. I don't know if I can get faster than that bear. But when she called the game wardens to report the bear being there, when they got there to look for the bear, she had disappeared along with her cub. And it's like, yes, she went back to nature where she belonged.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they would have had to shoot her. Wait a minute. Charlotte says my son made a turducken for Thanksgiving. What's a turducken? Is that a turkey and a duck crossbred?
No, it's a duck stuffed in a chicken stuffed in a turkey.
How do you make sure all that meat gets done when they're on the side of each other? No
idea.
The duck would not be fun unless they took all the skin off of it, if they're going to do it like that. Okay, that's definitely interesting. Uh-oh, I just lost where I was at.
Sure, that's where you are.
Frank's turkey stuck with a duck. Shelby says those look great. She's talking about my blocks. And then Amazon has turducken and it arrives still frozen. Gosh, you don't even know how they handled the meat before they put it inside of each other.
Hi, Robin and Jackie. And hi, Russ.
He's finally come around to say hi.
Hi.
He's taking the night off from lives. Okay, Shelby says, I miss the venison pork sausage my dad used to make. Yeah, I miss that too. Linda says, just finished cooking. Something chicken fritters, peas, mashed potatoes, and focaccia huckleberry lemonade to drink. Oh, that sounds interesting.
Yeah.
And I need to go. Yeah, can you entertain them for a minute? I got to go check the chicken. Because I can smell it now. Take them out. No, take them out. I'm going to put them in foil. Oh, I don't have no foil. I know what I can do.
Oh, Robin's got the rain finally. Jackie says when they lived in Florida, they would go to the inlet south of Daytona and get fish as it comes off the boats. That's a lot of what people would do in Boston. Like a lot of the restaurants, especially, they would, as the boats are coming in, they would buy all of the fish, and yeah, it's so tasty. Yet here, when I've had friends be like, let's go to such and such or seafood. I'm like, no, we're too far inland. They're like, what do you mean? I was like, it's not fresh. If you can smell it, it's not fresh.
Hi, Patty, and yes, I am sewing. Here, let me show you what I've got done so far. I've made 4 of these. And I'm fixing to start part 2 of it. All right. How's yours coming along, Russ?
I am halfway putting the rows together.
Awesome. All right.
I think I got to the halfway point. Well, no, I didn't quite make it halfway because I sewed rows 7 through 11 together. I should have done one more to make it closer to halfway, but oh well. Because I didn't want to just keep adding row by row by row onto the same piece, because then it gets a little heavy.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, well, let me just break it off right there. And I should have waited one more, but oh well. I have salmon that is going to be dinner for me today.
Pat, how close is the fire to you?
There's a fire?
She lives in California, and there's 26.
Oh, you're talking about Pat. Oh.
Yeah, Patty. Yeah. She lives in Northern California, and last I saw there was like 26 forest fires going on.
Oh.
I would have thought with all that rain and stuff they got during the winter months, it would have fixed that, but I guess not. Did you know that human beings consume 70% of the whole planet?
That sounds extremely wrong.
It's not, though. It's the truth. Our population
Water consumes 70% of the planet.
No, what I mean is human beings are using 70% of land.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that I can believe.
That leaves 30% for wildlife. Uh-oh, I just dropped my... Oh, where'd it go? Oh, I'll look for it later. Okay, so I need 4 of these. I wonder if Texas got a lot of rain from the tropical storm. Beryl.
There was something that showed up in my news feed that I didn't get a chance to read about. So I'm just hoping that they are in one piece still.
They should be. I mean, the most that could happen is flooding, I guess, from the tropical storm.
Yeah. I mean, Galveston is the New Orleans of or not New Orleans, the Baton Rouge of Texas. It's basically under sea level.
I didn't know that.
Or right at sea level if it's not under. So anytime that bad storms come through, they risk flooding bad.
That was a beautiful hurricane. I don't know if you saw the pictures I posted on my Facebook, but my goodness, it had when it was at that Cat 5 status, that eye was beautiful, nice and perfect and small. He went from being that tropical storm to a day later being a Cat 4. It was strange how fast it blew up. The water's too warm. Do you know we still have ice bumpered around South Greenland?
Really?
Yep. We have had no cruise ships because they can't get in. It's too thick. They won't go through anything thicker than 2 meters. And it's definitely affecting how our weather's acting because we've been getting a lot of rain, and then we're getting a lot of fog also. We live down here on the lake, and the fog comes in between two of the mountains.
Uh-huh.
Normally, it would stay like on top of the lake or something, but it's been covering our whole neighborhood. So right now I'm chain piecing these next blocks before I sew all of them together. So I have to make a total of 8 of them. So far I've made 6 and I'm about to start the next 2 blocks and then they will all get sewn together. And then we will have made clue 4B. Frank says he's stepping outside to smell the fresh air. So it must be raining finally. Robin says she loves gator bites at Gator Joe's. You know, we ate at someplace. I think it was called Trader Joe's.
Trader Joe's is a grocery store.
Then that would be a no. They serve chicken wings. What is the name of that place? Maybe it was Dick's Wings. Maybe that's what it was called. And let me tell you what. You would never think somebody could ruin chicken wings, but they did. They overcooked them.
Oh.
And you know, chicken wings are not cheap to eat to begin with.
Right.
And I had never eaten at that place before, so it was my first experience, and it was not a good one. Even Nikolai's like, this chicken's too overdone. I'm like, you were right, it is. I have a feeling that it was probably already made, and they just reheated it by throwing it back in the oil. Yep, that's part of it, Robin. We haven't seen a container ship, so I don't know. When we were in the grocery store, things are looking a little rough in there. I never thought I would experience what it means to not have groceries in a grocery store until I moved here. First time it happened, it scared me a lot because I've never seen a half empty grocery store before.
I have.
All because
It was one of the snowstorms that we had here in Atlanta. Everybody freaked out. I think that was the one that it took me 7.5 hours to get home from work. But it was like the next day or the day after, a friend of mine needed something from Publix. So I said I'd walk with him because it's just over a mile. And the cupboards were bare there. I mean, the shelf stable food was fine, but anything that had any inkling of perishables, so the bread, the milk, the fruits and veggies, just completely bare. And it was just weird to see.
Yep. It makes you appreciate why the indigenous still hunt and fish here because they can't depend on other countries for food. They can just go out on a boat and hunt. And the ones that don't have boats usually end up with the wares from those that do because, you know, Greenlanders have a belief that you don't take more from nature than you should.
Yep.
And anytime they do have access, they share it with everybody else in the town, especially if it's whale meat or seal. I love Ma Barkers. What is that, Frank?
I've not heard of Ma Barkers.
Wait a minute. Gator Joe's is by Ma Barker's house. I don't know who Ma Barker is.
I've heard of Bob Barker.
Frank says Gator Joe's is 7 miles from his house and he will not eat there. Ooh, it's 106 yesterday. That's 108 today. Wow. In Florida, that's pretty bad.
I think my computer says it's 93 here, so.
I wonder what mine says it is today. Today,
Which means if I look in the garage, it's probably going to say 100.
Wow, we're supposed to be getting some gusty wind soon, looks like. It's 48 degrees here. That's warm when the sun's out. But it was raining this morning, so I don't know if it's still cloudy or not outside.
We've been getting our evening thunderstorms, and I keep looking out to see if we're going to be getting them again tonight.
Man, I miss the sound of thunder. And the rain, how it smells when there's lightning.
Uh-huh.
Did you know that the reason it smells like that is because
A bacteria.
Lightning ionizes the water droplets, turning it into nitrogen. Nature's freebie fertilizer.
Yep.
And just think, it wasn't synthetically made. Wow, this blue and red goes good together. See that? That is a nice color together. Frank says Ma Barker was a 30s gangster. Okay. Mom Barker, why is that a mouthful? And her sons were outlaws. Yeah, I don't know who y'all are talking about. Florida gangsters or Georgia gangsters? 114 degrees in Phoenix, Arizona.
Yeah, no thank you.
Yeah, no thanks. Nope. California isn't much better off on those temperatures.
I mean, I understand Phoenix doesn't have humidity, but still, no thank you.
I couldn't live in Arizona. I think it would be too dusty for my lungs.
I've gone there and visited a few times, and every single time when I got home, I was missing the color green.
Yeah.
Because every time I would start to land back in Atlanta, I'm like, oh, that green looks so pretty. Because everything there is brown and dusty. I mean, it all works in the whole environment. But, you know, all the buildings are brown, all the dust is brown. And I'm like, I want some green.
I wonder if it's always been dusty back in the prehistoric times.
I mean, it was a desert, so probably.
All right, I'm pressing these little blocks and then I'll be sewing them together. How long did you want to stay, Russ?
Until I finish my gnome, which is in a couple seams.
Oh, so you're close. Okay.
Yeah.
You can see what time it was.
Yeah, it's approaching 6 o'clock, so it's approaching dinner time. And Percy's going to be complaining as soon as I open up the door that he's starving.
Yep, it's about to be 9 o'clock here. So, you want to stop at 6 o'clock?
We can stop at 6. We can stop, you know, I've got, like I said, I got 2 seams left, so.
Okay, just go ahead and do what you're doing, and yeah, and then we'll stop.
It's nice that this gave me a estimate on how long it takes to do one of these gnomes.
Yeah.
because that means I have 8 left to do. And if it takes me about 2 hours, it means I got to figure out 2 days that I'm going to finish all these.
I hear you on that one. Let's see, this is B and C. Right.
And if you have chicken in the oven, you're eating late dinner.
Yep. We just took it out of the oven. I had put it in there right before I started the live. Because we've been eating late anyway. And the dogs get fed late at night, so. Okay, so this is B and C. Wait a minute. Let me make sure I got this turned the right direction. B and C, and A and B. Okay. We'll sew those together first. You know, I was on my live Saturday and I had put this. I think I figured out what the problem was with my machine. I think my machine did not like this thread from Missouri Star. And guess what? It's on the bottom of it. It says it's polyester. So I didn't even notice that. So when my machine had its little shutdown where the thread was all caught up underneath the bobbin and stuff,
Yep.
I didn't even realize I had been sewing with polyester. No, I don't even know how I came to have a roll of polyester yarn thread. And it's 40 weight on top of it. I didn't even notice that. I hope it doesn't affect my binding, because that's what I did was bind with it. But I think that's why my machine kind of gave me trouble. Maybe the tension was wrong or something. Do you have to adjust the tension for polyester?
Depends on how thick the poly is or thin.
This was 40 weight, and normally I only use cotton 50 weight.
That means absolutely nothing, because the weight is, it's something about how many meters to get to how many pounds or something like that, or kilograms or whatever. So polyester is lighter, so I think it's a thinner thread to
That
start
might have been why it acted out on me then, huh?
So yeah, you can't say that 50 weight polyester and 50 weight cotton are the same width, because of the way that weights mean, which that annoys me, because it's like, you know, I want to work with a specific thickness thread. I don't want to work with I don't want to measure that, you know, this way I'd have to know it's this weight versus that weight.
Okay.
Which is also why I only use one brand of thread in my long arm, because I know that is generally going to the same thickness for the same weight. So if I'm using 40 weight thread in there, I know that it should, like 40 weight of blue should be about the same thickness as 40 weight of green.
Yeah.
Now white is different because it doesn't have the dyes in it. So there may be a slightly different thickness for 40 weight white versus 40 weight color. But I do know that, you know, if I went and I used 40 weight Aurifil in my long arm and then did a 40 weight glide, the tensions would be completely different.
Well, that's something I need to educate myself on then. Because I honestly didn't notice I had polyester. But I got to think, I got to
nothing wrong
thinking
with
about
polyester thread.
yeah.
I mean,
I got to thinking, you know, I've had this machine 4 years and this is the first time that happened. And it even gave me an error message when it was all over with. And I thought I had broke my machine. And I got to thinking about it last night. I'm like, maybe it was the thread I used. So when I just looked, I'm like, uh-oh.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with polyester thread. I use it for certain projects in my machine and it's fine. But I do know that some machines are temperamental. So it's all about using what you're accustomed to. Because I know Shannon will use nothing but polyester thread for her sewing.
Well, anything that I think is going to go to my kid's house is going to be done with cotton. Including the thread. Only because they have young kids in the house and polyester, if it gets hot, will melt.
Yeah.
And I don't want any kind of reason for it to melt to their skin, you know? So thank you, Janice, for suggesting everybody hit that thumbs up. Thank you so much. And please do hit that thumbs up to help the channel out. Shelby says, Katie, that makes sense. Sometimes you have to adjust the tension. Yep, I need to learn how to do that. I have never changed the setting on this machine since I got it. So that's something I think I should educate myself in so I don't mess
Does your machine have automatic tension or is it manual tension?
It has a knob with numbers on it.
Okay, then it's manual tension. Mine is hypothetically automatic, but I need to send it in for a spa day because the first couple stitches are coming out at a different tension than the rest of them.
Okay.
I've
yeah, I
noticed
haven't
that.
sent mine for a spa day either because that means putting it back in its box and sending it to Denmark. And when I send it to Denmark, I better have plenty of pre-recorded videos because it'll probably be a month or longer getting it back.
You don't have a backup machine?
Other than that Singer Talent, and I really don't want to go back to sewing on that itty bitty tiny thing.
Yeah, I've got my travel machine, and I think I want to get that serviced first because I mean it's only been used once since I bought it, but you know, that one I would rather get serviced first so I can know that it is properly lubed and everything else before I service this machine, because when I send this one to be serviced, I don't want to risk my travel machine going kaputs while I'm waiting on it.
Yeah. I'm so leery about even putting it back in the mail to send to them.
Oh, I understand. I do have my block done.
Oh, look at it, Nick. Hang on, let me spotlight you so everybody can have a really good look at it. Wow, that looks terrific.
Yeah, they go together very easily, and as we said, basically 2 hours to get the block done.
Yep, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
That means you're not a fast sewer then, like me.
Oh, I enjoy the process.
Yeah, I do too. I'm not in a hurry. And if it takes me more than one live to finish something, that's okay. Uh-oh.
And you can take me off the spotlight if you don't mind.
Okay, yep, and I just saw I made a mistake. Darn it.
Uh-oh.
No, I know. I should not have done that. Darn it. Oh, well, I can fix it later. All right. Let's see here. Let me finish reading some stuff and then we can call it quits. Patty says, I went through my thread box and pulled out about 8 spools of cotton polyester thread. I also use and size thread from 30 to 50 weight. No probs. I just make sure my bobbin has the same size thread. I wound a new bobbin with that thread, and I thought I had used it before, but I needed the dark color for my stronger together binding, and that's why I used it. I didn't even bother to look to see if it was cotton. I assumed all of that Missouri Star that I have hardly touched was all cotton, but now I better go through there and make sure there's no more polyester I don't know about. Robin says no weight in thread is how thick or thin it is.
She is right, but the set, like I said, it's based on how much thread you get out of a certain weight or something like that. So a heavier thread base is going to be thinner for the same weight.
I thought it was how the thread was spun.
No, it's something funky with math. And it is a bigger weight. A bigger weight is a smaller thread, but like I said, a 50 weight for Aurifil is not going to be the same thickness as a 50 weight for Glide.
Okay.
So it's very much based on the material. They're close, but they're not going to be exactly the same for the thickness.
Robin suggests I watch Tiffany's Sunday video. Yeah, I'll go look it up. Frank says 40 should be the same overall as well as 50 weight. Sherry says, I love poly thread. It's stronger and not as linty. Robin says, nice, Russ. Frank says, adjusting tension on top, on the bottom, it's different. Yeah, the
Yeah.
bottom case that has a tension thing in it, I noticed. Frank says he leans toward poly. Frank says, nice, Russ. Patty says, very pretty. Jackie says, Russ, which thread do you use in your embroidery machine?
I use Glide in my embroidery machine. I know a lot of patterns use Floriani for the colors. I just don't have a Floriani collection. I have a Glide collection.
Sorry. Robin says, yeah, this happens in the middle of the day and another time. Like at the
I was
same
going to
time of the
say,
day.
after 9 o'clock, everybody's brain shuts down. We've discussed that.
Yeah, I go through this twice a day, every darn day, and it lasts for about 30 minutes. It's weird. And Nikolai says it's probably my brain saying, you should go take a nap. Robin says tension on one of my machines is on the bobbin shuttle. What's a shuttle?
The thing that catches the bobbin thread. Like Smarter, was it Smarter Every Day? I think it's them. He had a video a couple months back on how sewing machines work, along with giant models of the needle going down, the bobbin shuttle, and everything else. I think it was Smarter Every Day.
Okay, I'll look into that. Let's see. Frank says I sorted my thread out some, just the more I look. Robin says this past sew Sunday, she's talking about for Tiffany. And Frank says he'll check it out. And Robin says very informative. Okay. So anyway, thank you for coming tonight. And
No,
go ahead and
it's
say whatever you want to say.
Veritasium that has the video.
Okay. Okay. I'll look into it.
Yeah.
So thank you for coming tonight.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. Thank you for coming. Do you want to say anything?
Let's see. For my channel that I have coming up, this Saturday, I will be sewing live on my channel at 11 a.m. Eastern. I am working on the Fort Worth Fabric Studio As the Crow Flies sew along. I still haven't looked to see what this week's block is. I've been busy all day running around. So I'm a little concerned because I saw that there was just a lot of pieces for this week. But it's going to be fun. They always have awesome sew-alongs and everything. And then on Sundays, I have my weekly vlog. And then this week also on Wednesday evening at 7 p.m. Eastern, a group of us, it's me, Stephen and Walter of the Idiot Quilter, Stephanie of Quilting with Stephanie Stitches, and Shannon of Slay Arts. The 5 of us are going to be on my channel, and we do the social review where we're just chit-chatting and stuff. And this month we are talking about sewing machines. So anybody who is looking about sewing machines, ask questions about sewing machines. I know everybody gets asked constantly, what sewing machine do you use while we're in lives and stuff. So I think that's going to be a fun live that we talk about the features that we love on our machines and what our dream sewing machine might be.
My dream sewing machine is an M8.
Oh, nice.
I actually got to see more than one of those while I was doing the shop hopping. And oh my God, it's like, if I'm going to spend that kind of money, might as well do an M8 because it has they added a stitch regulator to it so that when you're free motion quilting, you don't have near the trouble with it. And I'm thinking, hey, that might be my little second machine, The neck is a little bit longer.
Getting a good Like, I think everybody should have a backup machine, whether
Yeah,
you
I agree.
produce videos or whether you just sew on your own. And it's just because, you know, when your main machine has to go down, you want to continue to sew. And you're not going to have your backup machine be as big as your normal machine, but
Yeah.
you wanted to have a good portion of the features that you have. So my backup machine, it doesn't have, you know, the laser light. It doesn't have a button over here that does my automatic threading, but I do have an a manual automatic threader, if
Okay.
that sounds like it's logical. But
Yeah.
so it's got a lot of the features that I have, but it's also missing a lot of the features that I like.
Okay, so the only thing I think I need to make an announcement about is Thursday. I've been invited over to the channel called Garden Quilt and Art Show. Thursday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, they will have a live and I will be their guest. If you go to my community tab, there is a link for it. Or if you're in my Facebook group, you can find the link there also for Thursday's live. So this will be the first time that she and I are getting together. So it should be interesting and fun. I'm excited. I just, you know, it's always good to meet another new person.
Oh
And
yeah.
her channel is I think her channel is close to the 2,000 mark or something.
Oh, that's awesome.
So yeah. Anyway, that's what's happening Thursday. This weekend, as far as I know, I'm not sewing with anyone, but I hope I can find someone to sew with. So if any of you want to come sew with me, send me a message and I'll fix you up to come and sew with me. So thank you for coming tonight. Make sure to live, laugh, love, dream, and create something from all of that. Love you guys. See you on the next video and have a nice
Bye.
night. And
Bye.
I'm just, don't go nowhere.
Yeah.
Let me shut down this part.